Okay guys, so today has been a recording video day. This one's going to be about the school system. This video is for parents only, but if you're somebody who is still in school, then you also need to watch this video. Now, back in my middle school and high school years, I used to work for the schools. I used to do volunteer work. Now, I was working within school hours, which was great because it got me out of classes. You know, it got me out from doing some book work. So, let's go ahead and hop right into it. When it comes to money is going to be the topic for this. It's going to be the focus for this. When it comes to fundraisers, you know, back in the day, fundraisers, raising money for school equipment, for new books, for sports equipment, or to help the school to rebuild it, new paint, you know, something to go for the students. You know, it was accurate then. It was more accurate then than it was now. One of the richest schools that I went to at the time during elementary was McDowell. McDowell was a wealthy school. Of course, over time, you know, you get new executives that go into the town office, new people to manage money, and they did find McDowell as a threat because it was a all-black school back in the day. Even when I went there, it was an all-black school. Of course, you had white kids too, but they cared about their students. Now, the school is struggling with funding. It looks poor. A lot of its new equipment that was once raised so many years ago, so many decades ago, is now not there. Because when I went there, it was new equipment. The school looked nice. You didn't have none of those neighborhoods there like you did now. The playground was bigger. You know, now it's small. You know, that they got a helping hand for them to keep open, but now they're looking to raise money to build a new school for them. And honestly, the people in the town office want to tear down the old one and put housing up. To me, that's taking away the history of the place if you do that. It really is. You know, one of the poor schools I did go to was McDowell. McDowell, within its own, you know, will probably always be poor. It never had good funding. The school that I went to that was bad, and when it turned good, was Brown School. I know it went under a makeover. I don't know how the school is now, though. I know it went under a makeover. By the time we get now to middle school and high school, the book fees that the parents pay for their child to get books. Have you ever wondered why your child came home with these shitty ass books that look used? Well, them are books that have been used by students many decades before. So the money that you're giving to the school, you're paying for new books that are being stamped 3 years after your kid's already out of middle school. So you're paying for other kids' books, for other kids, where they can use those books. You see what I'm saying? So you're paying 3 years in advance where other kids can use those new books, because our kids and your kids are not going to be there. So that's why they get the shitty ass hand-me-down books that are for free. the writing textbooks. You know, the writing textbooks are overstock books from decades past. The textbooks that you pay for again are filed away and stamped for other kids to use once your kids are gone. You know, I used to stamp old and new books for retirement and also good to go as well. That's what I did. I would go in and out of classrooms picking up old books to stamp up for retirement, for new books can go in. The same thing when it comes to paying for sports equipment. The sports equipment, you know, if your child plays sports, they're like, why does it look used? It's because you're paying for new sports equipment that your child's not going to see or use after they get out. So they're giving them used stuff. When it comes to fundraisers, trying to raise money, the money that they say it goes to, man, that's a lie. The schools buy trophies and computers that have been sitting in boxes for so many years, so many decades, that they're still factory packaged. They have never been opened. So they're going to keep buying this stuff. They're going to keep buying it. You know, and this even goes into high school as well. You know, Central got rid of it certain years because they were ashamed of two classes, which was the class of 010 and 011. You know, they considered those two classes the worst classes in history of that school. But those 8 years that passed by, why do you think they got all the money to build that new school from us? I was working at that school too, man. Again, doing the same thing. Stamping up books, picking up books, taking them into the garage area that was well hidden. And let me tell you something. All that money, they had new desks, new computers, trophies that were still factory packaged from decades prior, even going into decades after. We're talking brand new N-box Dell, Gateway, Comcast computers, the really big fat ones. Those that are in their early 30s like me know what I'm talking about. Even some of the older laptops that were thick, they were still in boxes. Even the laptops that were out then, just like the computers were out then, bro, they were still in boxes, so they were still having us use older computers. Same thing when it came to trophies. There was one of my friends, you know, his mother raised money for so long, it was almost to like $1 million, and she wanted to redo the school because it was due underneath repair on one certain side. But you know what Central did? They barely did any work to that school, but they decided to go ahead and take that woman's money and then spend it on bullshit and waste it on the things that I talked about. So what parents are paying for when you give money to the school for what's supposed to go to your child, right? It's not going towards your child. You're paying for other kids' stuff years down the line when your child's no longer going to be there. And you know who would really confirm this? You know who would really confirm this? My old art teacher. She's like, the money that you're supposed to be, the money that your parents give to help pay for stuff at the school and new art equipment, it's really paying for new art equipment that none of us are going to be using or seeing until after we're out of school. So we're still using dried up stuff, or hopefully what's ever supposed to be salvageable or still good to use, and the teachers are taking money out of their pocket to try to afford new supplies. You know, and there were teachers that really talked about what I'm talking about. You know, a lot of them didn't like the system that they were stealing money from people and paying for stuff that nobody's going to be using until years later. And the teachers have to try to up things on their own and take money out of their pocket that they don't have, and they're not getting paid a lot, you know, as it is. So one of the biggest scam systems in the world is the school system. Because again, the money that you're giving to the schools that you think are going towards your kids, they're not going to your kids while they're there. You're paying for other kids' stuff for decades and years to come later. That's what you're paying for. You know, the money, you know, the school, yeah, they're sitting on that money along with the executives that are in office in this town or whatever state people may see this video. I'm real, man. Real fucking shit. You know, it's disgusting, but they can get away with it. So, you know, again, I know this because I used to do volunteer work for the school, man, during school hours, and I found out a lot of this shit. You know, words can't quite describe it. You know, it's one of those things where you need to see it for yourself and say, damn. Again, where do you think Central got the money to rebuild? They got it from those 8 years, followed up by several decades before those 8 years, before the classes of 011 and 010. Talking about, man, it was a festus. No, it wasn't. I barely had any classes coming up. So I used to roam the schools a lot. I used to roam the school a lot, right? There wasn't no fucking Festus. All that new stuff, they dedicated that new Central from the classes of 012 till now, saying if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have this school. But you know what? I tried to hit up some people that used to take the videos and the photography stuff at Central. They used to do the editing, because there were some moments that I wouldn't mind having for my own documentations so you guys can see on this YouTube channel. You know what they told me? It's like, because they were so ashamed of those 2 classes, which was the class of 010 and 011, Central decided to erase any documentations that ever follows up to those 2 years. Because supposedly we were the worst classes ever that they had in history. So they wanted nothing left to be reminded of. So that's why there was no dedication to us when it came towards the new school, the new Central that got built. You know, one video I wanted in particular was the graduation video. You know, when I got to walk, even though it was all fake for me, after a decade later, after I found out, those that saw those videos. But guess what? They got rid of the class of 010 video of graduation, just like they got rid of the video of class 011. So again, the school system, man, is one of the biggest lies and one of the biggest scams ever. So they definitely are very much ashamed, as they should be. Again, how they got that school and those books went from years of stealing money. But, you know, again, it's one of those things, man, that you really have to see for yourself, because words can't describe. But, man, I'm out, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.